Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Last night was a major one, a big one, and this morning we can confirm that Arsenal have tabled a £105 million deal on the table of West Ham to sign Declan Rice. It is a take it or leave it. Arsenal will not go higher than this one. It is the last one. West Ham are discussing with Arsenal on a few details and structures plus add-ons to make sure that the deal is the right one. Arsenal are moving like a big club. £105 million. That makes Arsenal the club that have signed the most English player in the most expensive English player in the Premier League, but also the second most expensive English player ever after Real Madrid's Jude Bellingham. How are we feeling, Arsenal fans? Good morning. Arsenal do have that offer in. Do you think it will be accepted? We're going to be diving into all the details of this bid. We are going to be diving into all the details of what is going on. But Arsenal are moving closer and closer. I reported yesterday, according to the Telegraph, that they thought a bid was in from an anonymous club, and they also thought it was very, very close to getting to an end as a saga. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. Let me know in the comment box below. Do you think Arsenal will eventually get done with this deal with West Ham as well? Now, the story was broken by David Stein yesterday, who confirmed that in an exclusive that Arsenal had tonight submitted a massive offer to West Ham for England midfielder Declan Rice. Proposal is 100 million fixed or guaranteed plus 5 in add-ons, and they are also saying it would be a record for a British player as Arsenal try to agree deal with West Ham for top target as well. So that was what that is how David Stein broke the story yesterday in a very, very big exclusive. And of course, on the Athletic page yesterday, they also confirmed that Arsenal have made an improved offer worth 105 million for West Ham midfielder Declan Rice. The offer, which Arsenal will hope to fend off rivals Manchester City, comprises of an initial fee, which is 100 million, plus an extra add-ons in £5 million. It will be a record fee for a British player if the movement materializes, and they're saying Arsenal had a club record proposal worth £90 million as well, 75 plus £15 million in add-ons, turned down by West Ham earlier this month. Manchester City subsequently lodged a formal bid, initial 80 million with an extra 10 million in add-ons, but that was also rejected. Now that has been confirmed. We have confirmed that Arsenal have sent in that bid, 105 million pounds. Fabrizio Romano also did confirm the same story and said Arsenal have submitted a new bid for Declan Rice after West Ham chose to reject 80 million plus 10 bid from Manchester City. Arsenal's third bid is now on the table, 100 million fixed plus 5 in add-ons, as reported by David Stein. However, West Ham are still waiting to hear from Manchester City. That is where the big story is. And of course, I've been watching Sky Sports in this morning, and they are actually saying that makes Declan Rice the second most expensive signing ever, to be done by an English club. That is where we are. Arsenal will be paying 105 million. We will be the third club to pay 100 million for an English player. The first one being Jude Bellingham, the second one being Declan Rice, and the third one being Jack Grealish. Look, Arsenal are moving very, very, very boldly, right? Of course, that also means that we are smashing our own transfer record very, very massively. It means that Arsenal actually will have signed the second most expensive player in the Premier League. Okay, the only deal that beats our deal would be Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea in the January of 2023, who is signed for 106.8 million pounds. There is no other deal that would beat Arsenal's deal for Declan Rice. Arsenal's transfer record, of course, will be absolutely smashed as well. 2019, we paid 72 million for Nicola Pepe, and before that, we had paid 52 million to sign Alexander Lacazette and 50 million net to sign Benjamin White. So that is where we are. That is what we are talking about. We are talking this morning. Arsenal submitting a 105 million bid to West Ham. We're also talking West Ham are still contemplating whether to accept it or not. They're still waiting to hear from what Manchester City have to say. Right, what are your thoughts? What are your comments? Have Arsenal overpaid? Have we been pushed to overpay? Or Arsenal were always gonna pay 100 million? Now, I still remember that I reported around 3 weeks ago when I had just come back to work that Jacob Steinberg with the Guardian had said that Arsenal and West Ham did have an agreement on what the final fee was going to be if the deal was to materialize. And we talked about that story, that there was a verbal agreement between West Ham and Arsenal, and West Ham always expected Arsenal to keep on bidding until they rise up to that 105 and that 100 million mark. And initially, I thought it was kind of a job for Arsenal to go 80 million, then 90 million after agreeing to pay 100 million. But I tell you what, Jacob Steinberg from The Guardian was absolutely right. Arsenal had already agreed to pay 105 million. It was just a matter of, getting these bids in to see whether West Ham could be tempted by anything less than 100 million pounds. But of course, West Ham have done very, very good business here. They've done very, very well in terms of standing their ground and going, we want 100 million. If you don't give us 100 million, we will not budge. Now, there is a lot going on here, guys. There's a lot going on. Now, number one, the 105 million bid has not been accepted by West Ham. Yes, it has been received. It is on the table. And they're looking at it and they're like, come here, Arsenal. Why don't we, rectify a few clauses? Why don't we rectify a few things on this deal, right? And negotiations between Arsenal and West Ham are taking place, but there is a positive, there is a lot of positivism around the room that it will get done. So why haven't they accepted the new bid? Why is the new bid still in and around the room? Why haven't they accepted one? Why haven't they accepted it yet? Now, what I'm hearing from the likes of Jacob Steinberg from The Guardian is that although the West Ham have dubbed the Manchester City bid as laughable, the recent one, the structure, as laughable, they don't feel that the structure of the 105 million bid is very good for their finances, right? They don't feel it is the offer they wanted. They feel it can still be improved, and they feel Arsenal can work around what can be paid more in terms of upfront. So I think what they want here is they want Arsenal to pay more money upfront. Look, I think Arsenal we do not have the details, to be honest, but I think Arsenal have gone, we will give you 100 million plus 5 in add-ons, but that 100 million is going to be spread across 6 years. So I think what West Ham is saying here, you've got to pay this money across smaller installments, right? I think 4 is enough. Maybe 4 installments would be good. And the initial deposit should be probably around 40 million so that we can go out there and deposit 10 million on Sofian Amrabat and probably deposit another 10 million on Joao Palhinha, or maybe 20 million on Joao Palhinha, and get these deals done. So I think West Ham are looking at their transfer strategy, and it all depends on how much they can squeeze out of this deal. And I don't think that is something that will limit and hinder this deal from getting done. I don't think Arsenal are going to go, what? You want us to pay more money up front? We are walking away. I don't think, if you've gone up to 105 million, I don't think you're walking away because of a structure. Of course, it could happen. I'm not saying, it is football. It is Maracado. Anything can happen in football. But what I'm trying to say here is that in business sense, if West Ham always asked for 100 million and they now got it on the table, it is up to them to convince Arsenal to pay more. It is not up to us to convince them to accept a bid to accept our bid, because they've set the price and we have met the asking price. So it is it is up to them to convince Arsenal to pay more upfront. right? Now, it's going to be very interesting to see how Manchester City respond to this. And this will show me whether either Manchester City's bid was a hoax, whether it was absolutely not true, or they are really interested. Now, yesterday, I was listening to the TalkSport Breakfast Show, and Eni Oluko, ex-sporting director at Manchester City, was saying that she doesn't think Manchester City do have an interest in Declan Rice, and her explanation and reasoning was she thought Mikel Arteta was had called up Pep and told him, listen, my owners are going to go with the approach where we're going to waste a lot of time on this deal. Can you put in a bigger bid? Can you put in a stronger bid than the one that we've put in? Can you threaten the status of Declan Rice coming to Arsenal? Now, everyone ridiculed her because of her comments, and everyone had gone, she's crazy. She's absolutely crazy. How do you think Mikel Arteta is going to work with Pep Guardiola to strengthen Arsenal? But what is actually very interesting is that after she had said that on the TalkSport Breakfast Show, 11 hours later, Arsenal obliterated, and that is the word, we obliterated our own transfer record. We also obliterated our recent record transfer proposal. There is something fishy there, right? Like, there is something fishy there. Look, it could be a coincidence that Eni Oluko comes to the TalkSport Breakfast and says that, Manchester are not interested, and Arsenal are using Manchester City, not West Ham using Manchester City, but Arsenal are using Manchester City to get the deal done, to push the cronkies and the bosses at Arsenal to put in a higher bid. I'm not saying I believe this, and I'm not saying I don't believe it, because there is all the reasons in the world to believe. 11 hours later, Arsenal obliterated their recent offer. So how do you explain that, right? Of course, we knew a bid was coming, right? But we don't know if that bid was going to be, 95 or 98 or 99 million. But the fact that Arsenal have obliterated the transfer record of an English player in the Premier League, within the Premier League, 100 million, that is only Jack Grealish, plus an extra 5 million, that could get you a rebuilding from Bolton like 7 years ago. That could get you, that gets you rebuilding from Bolton Wanderers 7 years ago. So, are they going to wait for Manchester City? In my opinion, nay. It's a nay. I don't think they're waiting for Manchester City. But of course, if David Sullivan suggests that he wants to be greedy, that is up to him, right? If he suggests that the player is worth more than 105, because we know, and I said it yesterday, that I don't think Rice is a 100 million player. I don't think West Ham think he's a 100 million player. I don't think Arsenal think he's a 100 million player. And I also don't think that Manchester City think he's a 100 million player, right? We know the approach of Manchester City. We know Manchester City's approach. They will pay 100 million for Jack Grealish straight. But they've not done it with Declan Rice, and they're thinking and they're contemplating, which means, and it highlights and it's indicative of the fact that they think and they know he's not worth 100 million. So have Arsenal overpaid? Have we been forced into overpaying for Declan Rice? Absolutely. Like, really, absolutely. Whether this has been, tactics from Arsenal's side or from West Ham's side, or it has been real pressure from Manchester City, we have been forced into overpaying for Declan Rice. But I don't care. Like, I really don't care. Because for a defensive midfielder, and you look at their market, and you ask yourself, who are the most expensive defensive midfielders in the past? I think Casemiro moving to Man United is one of those. Frankie de Jong moving to Barcelona, I think around 80 million is also another one that we could actually talk about. Thomas Partey to Arsenal is a 45 million pound deal. That's a deal to talk about, really. We've got to be honest. And then you've got the hybrid Enzo Fernandez, right? Plays in CDM, plays in CM, plays in CAM, and plays in DM for 100 million, right? So the market is moving crazy. And that is the only reason why I will agree that Arsenal should have paid the 105. Because West Ham have looked at Jude Bellingham, not yet 20. He's not entering his prime yet at the moment, unless it's going to be, the out of the box guy. And they're looking at that deal and they've gone 115 million pounds, 103 million guaranteed. How about we go 105? How about we go 110? Right? I've been listening to, I've been watching Jacob Steinbach, and was actually saying that West Ham could be holding out for an extra 5 million to make it 110. Like, they're just shameless, aren't they? They're absolutely shameless. But this one will be accepted unless a club makes a bigger offer. Unless Man United or Arsenal or Manchester City make a bigger offer, I reckon Arsenal will get him. I reckon Arsenal will get their man. So that is where we are. Arsenal have made a 105 million pound deal to sign Declan Rice. 5 million in add-ons, 100 million in fixed payments and guaranteed. Arsenal have obliterated their own transfer record if this happens, and Arsenal will have obliterated their own transfer bid ever, actually, because I don't think we've made such a bid before. It's crazy. It's moving absolutely crazy. We're going to be talking about this throughout the day. Kai Havertz, we have a leaked video about his announcement, and I'll be providing that as well.